What's up everyone? Welcome back to the vlog channel. It's me, Kelly, your pal. And today I'm actually not vlogging, but I am sharing a life update with you. And I feel like I've been throwing a lot of life updates at you guys recently. Hopefully this is the last big one, but I'm very excited about this. As soon as we finalized everything, I wanted to share the news with you. And that news is that Ryan and I are moving to a new state. And we're actually moving the furthest away I have ever been from home. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to explain a little bit of background, where we're going, why we're going, all that good stuff. By the way, I'm sorry if you hear the sound of my fridge. It makes this like very high-pitched ringing sound whenever it's like, I don't know what the term is. I mean, it's always on, but like, I don't know what it's called when it's like cooling down. It makes this high-pitched ringing sound that we just cannot escape, but don't worry, we'll be escaping it soon. Anyway, a little bit of background. I was born and raised in New Jersey. That is currently where I live with my partner, Ryan. He's not sitting right there. I'm just pointing in the general direction where he is behind a wall. I also briefly lived in Atlanta, Georgia. I lived there for about 4 years. And you know what's funny about that is everybody thinks that I was either born in Georgia and moved to New Jersey, or that I currently live in Georgia, even though I was born in New Jersey. But neither of those things are true. I moved there for a few years and then I moved back. I wasn't a huge fan. And also possibly because there was a certain somebody that I was interested in back in New Jersey. But yeah, so I live in New Jersey. I've lived in New Jersey for almost all of my life. I figured I would stay in New Jersey for a while, but I've always been interested in living in other places. I think the United States is very interesting because there are so many different states that feel so different to live in. So I think that's really interesting to explore. Even though I personally didn't love living in Georgia, I thought it was so fun to just experience how different it was, even though it's not that far from New Jersey. It's still on the East Coast. But one thing about New Jersey in particular is that it is incredibly expensive to live in. Fun fact, New Jersey is actually one of the top 10 most expensive states to live in the entire country, which I actually did not even realize until we were considering leaving and we were looking up states to live in, and I didn't realize that New Jersey is so incredibly expensive. But yeah, in the last 2 years, it has gotten really, really, really expensive. And I know that's the case everywhere, but you know, when you're already starting out in a pretty expensive state and then you have the cost of living going up a lot, it just starts to get a little bit much. So at the end of 2021, we started kind of toying with the idea of potentially living somewhere else. We don't have any kids, we don't own any property, we don't have too much in the way of belongings, and we both work from home full time. So relatively speaking, it's kind of easy to move somewhere else. So we started looking online and kind of brainstorming which states we would want to consider living in. So we came up with a basic criteria of things that we would like to see in a state that we live in. So criteria number one is we wanted to live somewhere relatively inexpensive. Now, honestly, that's not something that's too hard to do. Like I said, there are 40 states where the cost of living is less expensive than New Jersey. So literally any state that is less expensive than where we currently live would be a great option for us because we would be saving more money. But of course, that does cut out a lot of the exciting states as well. And criteria number two is that we wanted to live somewhere interesting. Obviously, there are a lot of states in the US where it's extremely inexpensive to live there, but there's also not much going on. It's really just land, and that's just not necessarily something that we wanted. Personally, and maybe I'm biased in this because I grew up here, but I think New Jersey is a pretty interesting state to live in because we have New York City right nearby, and I've always lived relatively close to it, but also New Jersey is very small, so wherever you are in New Jersey, it's not that long to get to New York. We also have the Jersey Shore, which I feel like is pretty famous. I mean, there's a TV show about it, or there was. Is that show still on? I don't think so. That's not a good representation of what the Jersey Shore is actually like, for the record, but anyway. So criteria number three might be kind of a hot take, but we wanted to live somewhere warm. So this was actually a decision that we came to during the winter. New Jersey actually has all 4 seasons, so we do get a nice variety in terms of weather, but it does get very cold in the winter. I know it's all relative. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the cold, and it does snow a lot in the winter. And we realized we are just not fans of the cold at all. I know we could be living somewhere even colder if we were more north, and we definitely didn't want to do that. We actually wanted to live somewhere a lot warmer. Ideally, we also wanted to live somewhere that wasn't particularly wet. Just out of curiosity, I Googled it and I saw that New Jersey has has on average 117 days of precipitation per year, which is literally a third of the year, because I always jokingly complained that it rains like every other day here, and if it's not raining, it's snowing. So it is nice to have all of the seasons, but I'm just not a huge fan of that one season in particular, and Ryan isn't either, and we decided this is the last winter we wanted to spend in New Jersey, at least for the foreseeable future. So with that list of criteria, we got to searching. There were some other considerations that we wanted but didn't necessarily need, but those were the three main things I think that were the most important to us. And anything else was really just something that we would like but don't necessarily need. So that was our list of important things that we wanted to see wherever we moved to. So we ended up with a list of states that fit our criteria, but there was one state that immediately stood out. It was the one that we felt kind of was a little bit above all the others, and I'll explain why in a minute, but that is where we decided we are going to move to, and that state is Nevada. Specifically, we are moving to Las Vegas, Nevada. So if you don't know me in real life, this is probably a huge shock because I don't drink, I don't gamble, I don't have an interest in nightlife or anything like that, and that's kind of what Las Vegas is all about. But if you do know me in real life, this was probably not a huge surprise because this wasn't a random pick. Like I said, this really stood out on our list. It's a place that's been in the back of my mind for a really long time. I have family and friends that live there, have lived there. I have visited them. I know the neighborhoods really well. I know the area really well. I know a lot about it. So we're not going in completely new here. And like I said, it checked all the boxes for us. So it's less expensive than New Jersey. It's relatively interesting, and it's also very warm. It's actually kind of funny because every single person we have told so far in real life that we are moving has been like, did you know that it's really hot there? And the answer is yes, we do know that it is very hot there. Las Vegas is in the desert, so it actually reaches up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit there in the summer, which I don't know exactly what that is in Celsius, but I'll write it right here for those of you who are not in the US. There are over 300 days of sun per year, which is a huge departure from what we have here in New Jersey, and that's actually one of the reasons why we want to live there. I think a lot of people see it being hot as a negative, but to us it's a positive. We have just hated so much the cold weather, the snow, the shoveling your car out, all that sort of stuff. And that is just not something that we want anymore. Obviously, there gets to be a point where it is too hot to be outside, and I think I can safely say that that is the case in the summer, in the middle of the day in Las Vegas. But for us, I think it's kind of just a trade-off. So we're really trading what I would consider a miserable winter here in New Jersey for what is potentially a miserable summer in Nevada. So that's kind of the mindset that we have going into this. And like I said, I've visited a bunch of times and I know people who have and had lived there. I really know what to expect. In fact, when we were visiting there back in May, the first day that we got there, it was 95 degrees out and we were both wearing pants and long sleeve shirts and we felt totally fine. So the heat there is a little bit different. It's a dry heat, which is something that they always say. And of course, it is still super hot, but it's not unbearably hot all the time. And like I said, we prefer the heat to the cold. So this is something that we want. Obviously, a lot of people do live in hotter environments. Some people prefer colder environments. We personally just prefer to be hot than cold. So yeah, like I said, this is something that we've been kind of thinking about and talking about for a while, but as soon as we really solidified a plan, I wanted to share it with you guys because I feel like I've been just holding on to these crazy, I don't want to call them secrets because I don't think it was a secret because I wouldn't have wanted to share it before it was a solid plan for us. And like I said, as soon as we solidified it, I wanted to share this information with you because I want to bring you guys along for the adventure. But yeah, I will say it definitely feels good to be able to share it because I feel like I've been holding on to a lot of stuff. My last few vlogs have just been like, I think pretty big updates on my life, and I just always want to be open with you guys and I want to be able to share what is going on in the everyday. I just feel like things have been so in limbo for so long now. As you may remember from another vlog where I was kind of explaining what's going on in my life, it was a very rough start to the year. Things still, go up and down as is the way of life. But overall, we're just trying to make changes to make life as good as it can possibly be for us. And we're just really excited about it. But anyway, back to Vegas. When we went in May, we kind of talked about it a little bit, and while we were there, we were also curious to see how we felt about being there for a longer period of time and how we felt about being there not doing the kind of touristy things, because we didn't do that every day. We had a couple of touristy days for ourselves, and then we also spent a lot of time, you know, doing local things. The local days that we spent there were when we really fell in love with it so much and decided that we absolutely could see ourselves living there. And we actually ended up doing some apartment tours while we were there. Obviously at the time nothing was set in stone, but just in case we did do the apartment tours, I did film them. I'm very glad that I did, because now I can take you along the journey for the apartments we were looking at, what we wanted in an apartment there, and what we ultimately ended up taking. So yeah, I am going to be vlogging everything. Like I said, doing the apartment hunting with you guys, doing all of the packing, which there's going to be plenty of, and also packing up my nail polishes, which is going to be a whole heck of a lot. And yeah, I'm just excited. I'm excited for a new adventure. I'm excited for us to be doing this. It's going to be such a huge change. We're moving basically from the easternmost point all the way over to the west. It's going to be a time zone difference. It's going to be a totally different climate, totally different feel there. And we're just excited about it. And I'm excited to bring you along with me. Personally, I think moving vlogs are my absolute favorite kind of content that I consume on the internet. So I'm just really excited to do that. But I'm also excited to just document it and see what it's like, and also just to have some footage to look back on and kind of remember the decisions that we made and how we felt. So that's always really fun too. But anyway, that's it. Just a little life update of what's going on in our lives now. Like I said, hopefully the last big life update. This is the last secret that I have been keeping close to the vest, and I'm terrible at keeping secrets. But I didn't want to say anything, like I said, until it was set in stone. But now that we have officially made the plans to move, I wanted to tell you all so that we can do it together. So yeah, if there's anything in particular that you want to see, definitely let me know in the comments. And I guess that's it. So if you're not subscribed, definitely consider subscribing. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot of moving content on this channel, probably weekly, just because there's going to be so much. And we are going to be moving relatively soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for listening to me ramble for yet another long rambly video. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.